we're going to be talking about mean and extremely insecure people. Now, we're all a little bit insecure and we all make mistakes sometimes and hurt others, but there are some people out there who are genuinely so incredibly mean and can be so cruel. And I've come across these types of people and I always think to myself, where is the justice? Why do these people get away with saying terrible things to you and act as if they're in the right? So we're going to address all of that in this video. And I promise you, once you watch this video, you are going to feel so empowered that there's no way you're going to let these people get to you from here on out. So first, let's address, why are people mean to begin with? Why do people feel the need to hurt others? Usually it's because bad things have happened to them in the past. Usually it's because they have a lot of trauma growing up, and because they haven't processed this trauma, they have a lot of wounds and they can't help but inflict pain upon others and continue the cycle of pain. And while I can certainly empathize with that and understand that people have had really difficult upbringings, it certainly doesn't excuse their actions, because the reality of the situation is we've all had bad things happen to us, and a lot of us have had really traumatic childhoods, and I believe that it's our responsibility to not repeat this cycle. You see, what happens to us is completely out of our control. We can't help what family we're born into, what part of the world we're born in, how much money we're born with. We can't control any of that, but we can decide how to react to these events. We are given free will, and we have the option to either let the anger, the resentment consume us and continue on the cycle of pain, or break this cycle. So I believe there are two types of people in this world. There are those who are the victims of the circumstances in which they were raised in, and they blame everyone for their problems, and they blame all their circumstances for their problems. And there are those who actually take responsibility for their actions and understand what had happened to them was unfortunate, but they don't let it consume them, and they break this cycle. They break generational trauma, and they make it their mission to not repeat it for future generations. It is so easy to be the victim. It is so easy to let this anger and resentment consume you and just have this excuse to be a terrible person to everyone around you. It's so much easier to do that. But what's difficult is acknowledging all the bad things that have happened to you, acknowledging that, okay, you didn't have a great childhood. You weren't raised in a really good area. You had, bad things happen to you. And despite all of that, still continuing to be a good person, still continuing to hope and trust that there's better out there for you, to still look for love and light and not let the world harden you. That is so much more difficult. So while I can still have empathy for those who have had a lot of trauma and hardships, it doesn't excuse their actions. And just because you're wounded doesn't give you the right to bleed on others. It is your responsibility to grow and to do the healing, just like all of us are doing. So going back to playing the victim, mean and extremely insecure people love playing the victim. They love pointing their fingers at everybody else, at all the circumstances and events that have occurred, and blaming that for their actions, and using that to justify why they're being a bad person. And honestly, I feel so bad for these types of people, because being a victim is honestly such a powerless state, because you're giving everybody else power. You're giving all these other circumstances power over you. And you're basically saying that you have no ability to change your life, that it's out of your hands. Your life is crappy because of all these other people made it crappy. If you continue to be the victim, if you continue to blame others, then you will never grow in life. Like, how could you? I would much rather be in a state of power where I have 100% control of every action that I take, because that is in my hands. When I was early on in my healing process, I was watching a lot of videos that preached being compassionate and being kind to others. And while that is extremely important, I personally think I took it a step too far because I was being nice to people despite them disrespecting me, despite them being extremely cruel towards me. I was trying to be the bigger person. And honestly, screw being the bigger person. That is doing yourself such disservice. If someone is hurting you, if someone insults you, if someone is mean to you, you have every right to stand up for yourself and to remove yourself from that person's life. From now on, if someone wrongs me, especially if they're doing it intentionally, they will know, and I will certainly remove myself from their life. Okay, so let's talk about boundaries. Boundaries are these essentially made up lines that we draw that tell people that if you cross this, a certain consequence will happen. And we draw boundaries all the time, not just with humans, but with also locations. So for example, take a temple, okay? What we do is we draw a circle on a piece of land and we say, this place is holy. This place is sacred. When you enter this place, you take your shoes off, you bow your head to the ground, and you respect it. The same thing applies to you. So you get to have the right to have boundaries, to have certain things that people cannot do to you. And if they do, they no longer have access to you. You keep letting people disrespect you, they will continue to disrespect you over and over because now they know that they can do that. People will keep treating you like crap if you allow it. So stop allowing yourself to stay in these kinds of situations where people continue to cross your boundaries, where people continue to disrespect you. It is up to you to set the standards for how you want to be treated. Once you are very firm with how you want to be treated, people will know, okay, I cannot disrespect her. I have to act this way in order to keep this person in my life. So the same way that people draw these essentially made up lines and say, okay, past this line, it's sacred. The same way you need to create boundaries for yourself and say, okay, I am a sacred person. And this is not to say like, oh, I'm all high and mighty and I'm above others. No, you are a human being and you are extremely important and you're extremely valuable and you should be treated as such. And if someone's not respecting you, you have every right to take your energy back to yourself and devote it somewhere else. I used to think that I had to get along with everyone and I had to be nice to everyone and everyone had to like me as well. And the older I get, the more I realize that you do not have to like everyone, and nor does everyone have to like you. If you aim for that people-pleasing mentality, you will never be able to be your authentic self. Listen, there are going to be people out there who you just genuinely don't get along with. You don't like their energy. They are disrespecting you. They're mean towards you. You don't have to go out of your way to mend all relationships. Make peace with the fact that some people are only in your life to teach you a certain lesson. There's a really good quote I like by Peter Crone, which is, you will come across people in your life that will show you where you are not free. I believe this 100%. There are people who are placed in your life simply just as tests and to teach you lessons in your life. Extremely insecure people project their insecurities on others around them. You can tell a lot about someone by the way they insult others, and they're essentially telling on themselves. If someone keeps commenting on your weight, it's because they're insecure about their weight. If someone keeps commenting on your looks, it's because they're insecure about their looks. Do you get what I'm saying? So insecure people will bring others down for what they're insecure about. Someone who is secure and happy will never, ever, ever have the need to bring other people down. If I'm truly secure and happy with my life, why on earth would I feel the need to bring other people down? That doesn't make sense. And that's why the saying hurt people is so famous. When you're hurt yourself, you can't help but just like bring others down with you. Okay, so now we finally get to answer the most important question that you're probably wondering when you're watching this video. How do I get my justice? And when is karma gonna get them back for everything they've done and said to me? Here's the thing. You do not get to play the role of karma. Karma is a natural force that will happen all on its own. Their karma is being with themselves and being with their thoughts and going home and being who they are behind closed doors. It is not your job to impose karma on others, and we're not going to wish ill on anyone. And honestly, let time work in your favor. With time, the truth always comes out. Because here's the thing, people who are really mean and super insecure will always have problems in their life. They will never have good relationships with people because they will continue to hurt everyone around them and they will continue to blame everyone around them. So they will never be able to have a good relationship. They will continue to have issues with their family, with their friends, with their coworkers, and they will keep thinking this world is a cold and distrustful place. But in actuality, it's just the world projecting back to them all their insecurities and negative thoughts that they harbor inside. Their karma is living with their limited beliefs and living in such a small world. And the saddest thing is that's their reality. They don't know any better. And because they keep blaming everyone and everything else around them but themselves, they will never take the action to actually heal and grow. The best form of justice that you can get for yourself is taking that energy back. Take that attention and energy that you've been devoting to them for so long and give it back to yourself and devote it to your own healing, to your own growth. The biggest disservice you can do is continue to give this person your energy and your attention because that's what made them great in the first place. You putting them up on a pedestal, you believing everything they're saying, you giving their words power and actually taking it to heart, you're giving them so much control over you. It's time you take that energy back and devote it to yourself. So as Mel Robbins says, let them continue living their lives just as they are right now. It is not your job to change other people. It is not your job to try to show people that they're wrong. They can continue having their own narrative. They can continue living in their own delusion, whatever helps them sleep at night. But you know your truth, and that's what matters most. And honestly, mean and extremely insecure people do a really good job of ruining their own lives all on their own. So it's time to take this energy back, devote it to yourself, focus on your own healing, become the best version of yourself, and truly take this as the biggest lesson that helped you transform yourself and become the best version of yourself. And I want you to break this cycle of hurting other people just because you were hurt. You have complete control over every action you take, and it is up to you to either let your circumstances get the best of you, be consumed by anger and hatred, or let it transform you and become the best version of yourself. So I hope this video helps, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.